So let's get this guy open and take a look at this. Oh guys, you know I love metal. You know how much I love metal. Well, you know, Jim, after that run, it's like I've always said, things are never as good as you think they are, or ever as bad as you think they are. No, wait, I'm not Troy Aikman. I'm not a broadcaster. Hey, Deadheads, welcome back to the channel. Or welcome to the channel for the first time, new Deadheads. Today, we're going to take a look at our just shipped and received KT Pocket R1. We've got the revised edition in the aluminum shell, and we're going to see if this thing has actually been improved or not. Remember to hit that like button so you'll never miss an episode. Anyways, let's get this thing open. When the KT Pocket was first announced, there was a lot of enthusiasm. First of all, rooting for the hero, the solo guy who was going to take on, and all by himself, single-handedly, bring the world what he couldn't find from others. And that vision was a pocketable, high-quality, high-resolution handheld that could bring the experience he had been seeking. That vision was announced, and unfortunately, that vision did not materialize for many, many months, which is not surprising if you consider that it was a one-man show taking this on and trying to get this launched into the world. But now it launched, and the reviews came in, and there were, surprise, lots of errors, lots of problems. It was delayed. What would have been the world's first CPU for the G99 came out very late, and for the last year or so, the owner has been attempting to rectify all of the problems that went with the launch. Now, we bought one secondhand a few months off the Chinese marketplace Zanyu, and the model we got didn't have any problems, so I don't know if it had been corrected or it just was one of the units that worked pretty well. But today, we are going to take another look at a just shipped to us aluminum KTR1 Pocket that has improved buttons, conductive glue, and all of the light bleed screen issues solved, so we'll see. Anyways, remember to hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss an issue, or video I mean, and let's get into this and see, is this meeting that promise of hope? We'll be right back. Alright guys, so here it is, our metal KTR1. Let's get this guy open, and looks like we have some screen protectors. Oh, well, thank you, Neil. Sent me three screen protectors, so that's very nice, very kind. They came with it. Here's the box. So the box still looks the same as it did with the original. Let's just see if there's any changes to the box. Looks the same. KT Pocket KR1. So we do have our KT Pocket. And here are the specs: the MediaTek G99, which we've now seen in the Unicorn, also the iNeo Pocket Micro, and that beautiful 1620 by 1080 IPS HD 3:2 aspect ratio screen, a 7,000 milliamp hour battery, dual layout, which means you can do cross up top or cross bottom. We did cross up top. Online gameplay, and a vapor chamber. So, and then on the back here, so again, a 4.5 inch. The star of this has always been the 4.5 inch 1620 by 1080 3:2 aspect ratio IPS, which is beautiful for Game Boy Advance. We've seen the Pocket Micro from iNeo have a little bit lower resolution and a smaller 3.5 inch 3:2 aspect ratio. So that gave us a 4x GBA. This is going to give us a much higher GBA ratio. The weight of this, 260 with plastic. I got the metal, so 320 grams. Does have Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. And again, you can get top joystick or top D-pad. We went with D-pad up top. Here's some of the colors. It does come in a 4 gig with 64 eMMC or a 6 gig with 128 eMMC, which we got, or the top configuration of 8 gig and 256. So there are the specs. I don't believe he's selling the 4G model anymore, but there was at a time where you could get 4G as well. So let's get this guy open and take a look at this. Oh guys, you know I love metal. You know how much I love metal. Oh my gosh, this is beautiful. I can already tell, guys, that this is just gorgeous, as I anticipated. So again, nice packaging. And yes, look at that. That is beautiful aluminum metal. Now, a lot of people were excited because Neil did also sell this with a magnesium shell. So those orders currently, as of the filming of this, are on hold, but those will be back for sale again in the future. But this is aluminum. The magnesium are lighter overall, so that would be the benefit of getting the magnesium. So again, one of the changes were the buttons, and you can see that these buttons are just slightly larger than they were on the original. And let me see. Yes, those feel really good. Okay, so buttons feel really good. They look nice. And let's try the D-pad. D-pad feels good. Yeah, D-pad feels really good. Let's see how loud these buttons are. Oh, those are super quiet, guys. Look at that, barely making any noise. That's nice. Very, very, very quiet. And then, of course, I wish he could have gotten the Retroid style sticks, but these are pretty good switch sticks. They feel just like my previous KT Pocket. So these are definitely improved. Very improved buttons from the original model. And then our shoulder, a lot of people wanted them to be stacked instead of inline. I like the inline. Those feel like micro switches, but I don't believe they are. Yeah, those feel really, really good. And of course, being inline is going to make this more pocketable. So we do have our vapor chamber and our heat release right here. Although this chip doesn't get very hot, here is our volume rocker, our power, and nothing on this side, nothing on this side. And on the bottom, we do have our USB-C centered and a headphone jack. And one of the criticisms I had the original, and this is just a dead Fred thing, I just don't prefer this type where you have to use the little keyhole thing to get this to open up. I don't like this type of it, but I understand it. Hopefully with the KT Pocket 2, he'll change that design. And then on the back, there is the addition now of these amber neck-like pads. I love these. This feels like if the 405M was going to evolve into the 406H, this is it, guys. I know the T820 outperforms the G99 just barely by a bit, but this is like, to me, this is what is the evolution of the 405M. It just feels so good. And let's see if there's any sound. Very quiet. So no rattle, no sound, very well put together. And guys, this is a one-guy operation, okay? Now, he has indicated to me that he is in the process of acquiring funding and hiring people. So this is going to expand, but you got to understand that this thing launched and came out as a one-man operation. It took a while for him to ship this to me, and he is still trying to do a whole lot by himself. So it's very admirable, but I've got to say that as far as right now, I'm very pleased with the improvements. I'm very pleased with the way this feels, and it feels just like I had hoped it would. It feels really, really good. A really good material. It looks like they did really good CNC on it. The finish is nice. This color is nice. I really like this color and definitely am satisfied. So let me get this thing set up and booted up and we'll be right back. All right, so as you can see, with a 3:2 screen, 4:3 content will have a small border, but it's not going to be as big a border as, say, on a 16:9 screen. So of course a 4:3 would be, you know, ideal for PS2, but this is pretty good, I gotta admit. And this CPU, you know, we're pretty familiar with the G99 by now and what it can do, and it's going to play a good portion of the catalog of PS2. It's going to outperform the T618, which played, you know, a decent amount with fiddling. This is going to play a bigger amount, though not quite as good as the Snapdragon 865 and the Retroid Pocket Mini or 5 that just released, so keep that in mind. But as you can see here, this is running nice and fluid, and this is a really beautiful high-res screen. I'm running this at a 1.5x, and it looks really, really nice. And this form factor is excellent. It just feels so just nice in the hands. Like, I can't describe how good it feels. Again, with these pads on the back, which help you give you grip. And I don't know why AYRJGF moved away from that, because I really enjoyed that and thought that that was something good. But maybe leave me a comment if you kind of know why AYRJGF did this. But of course, let's move over to the real star of the show, which is, you know, Game Boy Advance, where of course is the star here, since it has that native 3:2 screen. And let's get some of that going. All right, so now we're at playing the star of the game, Game Boy Advance, and as you can see here, it completely fills the screen. It is at this high-res 3:2 aspect ratio, which just gives a beautiful, beautiful look. This screen is the same screen in the original versions of the KTR1. It's just that we're now using better materials and it's made better. Some early models had light bleed, and as you can see, there's not an ounce of light bleed anywhere on this. So we don't have any light bleed issues. Also, the screen fell out of some of those, but you can tell that this is secure in there really good. So the quality control aspects have improved greatly from the original ones that were shipped out, making this a improved experience for sure. Klonoa has become one of my favorite games here. Now, there's many different ways to play Game Boy Advance that we've talked about from time to time, such as playing on the Powkiddy V10, which gives you a beautiful 2x experience, which has been a fan favorite, and at, you know, $30 is a lot less expensive than this. But for this, you're paying for a CPU that's going to play up to PS2 and GameCube, and is going to give you a higher resolution screen than the Powkiddy, of course, at a much bigger price that you're going to have to pay for that. Then, and more in its range, is the Neo Pocket Micro, which is running at about the same price, also metal, also upscaling, but at a 4x for Game Boy Advance, and that 3:2 screen ratio. So again, this does outperform it. It is a 4.5-inch screen, so it's bigger, it's higher resolution for that, and it happens to have the exact same CPU, so its performance is going to be pretty similar to that. But if you really want the absolute best Game Boy Advance experience that is out there for right now, this is going to give you that experience. If the Analog Pocket with its super high-res screen had a 3:2 aspect ratio, it might be in this conversation, but it doesn't. So this is, in my opinion, the absolute best Game Boy Advance experience that you can get. So to sum up this look once again here at the KT Pocket R1, keep in mind, guys, that a single human made this happen. He is getting support, he's growing, he's followed through on all of the errors. He got really beat up in the reviews early on. There was a lot of division, justly so. the product did not meet the expectations. But he did not give up. He did not run away. He somehow found out how to persist, and he is working on the sequel, the KT Pocket 2, which very well, possibly, depending on crowdsource funding, will ship with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, the same one we see in the Odin and the Odin Portal, which could be very compelling. If he gets that CPU in this size, it may be a better overall aspect than the Odin 2 Mini, but that has yet to be seen. Will come down to price and what he can ship that thing out at, and whether he actually can expand and get the support that we think he's going to get. So, Deadheads, again, this is a beautiful machine. The ergonomics on it are top-notch. The quality control has improved immensely. The fit and finish is beautiful. I don't know if the camera will pick up here just how beautiful this is, but it is an absolutely gorgeous metal handheld. Now, you can get the plastic for as low as $169 and the lowest configuration of 4 gigs, but I would recommend the 6 gig, 128 gig eMMC as a minimum. The 6 gigs is going to just help you perform better on certain things. But I have to say that if I was going to spend $220 on a 3:2 ratio machine between this and the Aya Neo Pocket Micro, I'm going to go with the KT R1. I just think that extra additional real estate of 1 inch is not compromised by how this is still able to be portable and somewhat pocketable. And given the quality of the resolution of this screen and the size difference, it just edges it out just a little bit, even though I really like the Pocket Micro quite a bit still. So anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this revisit to the KT Pocket R1. My thanks again to Neil for getting this out, keeping his word and getting this out, even though it was a bit delayed. But again, he's a one-man show that is hopefully going to get some partners and expand into an operation that can fulfill the promises on a more consistent basis. Anyways, guys, remember to love your hug ones and hug your loved ones, because tomorrow's never promised. That's it for this episode. Dead Fred out. We'll see you next time, Deadheads.